Hello, Pip. What are you up to at the moment? Oh. I see. What have you been doing since Friday at the time of recording? What's that boinging noise? More to the point.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. We're currently playing Animal Crossing in our living room, which is one of the forms of socialisation that we can do. I've just seen a balloon and I would like to pop it, but I'd also like to continue introducing what we're doing, which is basically just having a chat about Animal Crossing, which we've both been playing quite a lot of, while you get to enjoy the background wibbling of the animals and indeed the crossing.
You'll either find it adorable or really, really annoying.
Let's find out.
Hopefully you'll at least know early. This is me running on the beach.
That was me popping a balloon.
Oh, I think yours is a lot quieter than mine.
As it should be.
Anyway, so...
I just found a teacher's desk. That balloon was carrying a teacher's desk.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility from a balloon.
Also a lot of responsibility that I definitely shouldn't have. So, yeah, we're going to use this next X amount of time just to kind of talk about our impressions of Animal Crossing New Horizons and our new first impressions of whatever it is Pip's just seen.
Well, I also have just seen a balloon, so I'm just going to wait for that to get over land, and then I can try and figure out. You can hear the huffing noise of a balloon.
The distant huffing of a balloon, not to be confused with the underground wibbling of a cricket.
Yeah.
That's quite a good desk, actually. It says teacher's desk, but I'm just going to call that a desk.
Well, so I've just shot a present
desk
down from the sky,
Nice.
and it is clay.
Great.
5 pieces of clay.
I've had some good hauls from balloons today, I'm not going to lie.
Do you know what though? I found, I think it might have been from a bottle that washed up on the beach, a recipe that involved clay and weeds. So I am just going to vault over the river to my wildflower meadow and pick up a few weeds so that I can make myself a nice little thingy. But would you like to maybe have a little visit after that?
Yes,
or
I will.
Would you like to talk a bit about, the broad strokes of the island life?
I thought I would talk a little bit about the broad strokes of island life for the benefit of listeners.
Sorry, that was a waterfall I was walking past.
Good to know. So Animal Crossing New Horizons came out on Friday. Everyone in the universe appears to be playing it because it really couldn't have come out at a better time, I think, for a lot of different people in a lot of different circumstances. This is the new sort of full Animal Crossing game for the Switch, and the first new Animal Crossing game in quite a while, right? Not exempting
Pocket Camp's been a couple of years now, so that's actually not as fresh as it feels to people like me.
And obviously, for some important context, you, Pip, are an extremely hardcore Animal Crossing player. You've been playing Animal Crossing for your entire life. You live in Animal Crossing. You dress like an Animal Crossing character.
I will say I am dressed as my Animal Crossing character from a couple of days ago.
And you can only maintain this form of speech for a certain amount of time before reverting to how you'd much rather speak. With your bibbles. So I'm just kind of interested in getting your first impressions, because obviously I'm assuming that it's going well, because this is where you live now.
I mean, I love it so much. It's the greatest experience of the last few days. I mean, to be fair, that's got such a low bar right now. And also I just want to say before we go any further, genuinely hope everyone in the community is staying safe and staying indoors and finding really cool games and little things to occupy themselves, and sending love to all of you. Very much likewise. I mean, it's so
maybe to take a broader tack, like, what is it about Animal Crossing? Because it doesn't surprise me. Like, were circumstances different, I still suspect that you would have lost this weekend to Tom Nook's Island Getaway regardless. I think that's probably a safe bet. So what is it about Animal Crossing for you that makes it such a thing? I can speak and talk to a dodo at the same time. Shut up.
I think it's because, well, part of it is because there's just so much attention to detail. It makes me feel like the people who made the game care about some similar things that I do in a weird way. You know, like if you collect insects and give them to the museum curator, who's an owl who happens to be terrified of insects, he will then give you a fact about the insect, and it's really lovely, and it tells me that rather than, you know, disappear into lore or just have it as a checkbox, these are lovingly rendered creatures, and it tells you a little bit about them, and just there's so much that rewards you just spending quiet time and letting time go past, and just being in the moment and watching butterflies go past, or discovering lovely little touches that people have added. Like in previous games, holes that you dug in the ground were essentially little walls that you couldn't get past, but here if you run up against them for a couple of seconds, or walk up against them, your character jumps over them, and it's just such a lovely little animation that took me by surprise the first time it happened. And just, you know, your character jumps in the way that a kid jumping into a puddle jumps as well, and it's just so lovely. Yeah,
it's I think compared to something like that would be its equivalent on PC, Stardew Valley particularly, I do love how I know that Stardew Valley isn't also kind of enormously wholesome and kind of comforting, but I think Animal Crossing, there's so many things about it that make it feel welcoming and sort of, I guess, sort of hand-curated to kind of put you in a particular mood, right? It's sort of the definition of comfort, I think. Like, it's even in the sense, like, so, you know, for my own part, this is the first Animal Crossing that I've played seriously. And, you know, even to that extent, like, I'm sort of struck by, like, how easy it is to just sort of do as much or as little as you want of the kind of the various tasks of Animal Crossing, and I appreciate we haven't necessarily explained them in any detail for people who have no idea what we're talking about, but essentially that amounts to gathering materials, doing some gardening, collecting bugs and fish.
Well, it's a little life sim that moves along at the same pace as a real world calendar broadly, and so, yeah.
And then over time, but I guess what I'm saying is, you know, even with my sort of limited experience of it, I can tell that I'm initiating the start of a loop or a journey for the game that's very familiar to people, like getting the same sort of familiar things, establishing the museum, the shop, you know, getting this sort of thing built up. And obviously little details change and little interactions get added. But in that regard, it actually reminds me, these couple of days have reminded me a little bit of the start of a new Pokemon game, which is already also kind of heavily ritualized. Like, we start a new Pokemon game. I think Nintendo are kind of unique in this regard, I think, of making games that are sort of repeat the same structure with embellishments and make that a kind of comforting and, you know, welcoming and sort of wholesome thing, rather than a sort of, oh, they've done it all again kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't, and I don't say that because that's a criticism you'd ever level at that. More that I find it interesting that you never would level that criticism at it, that you get delight from the little things that have changed and enjoy the journey of going back over sort of processes and steps that you've been over before.
It's weird. I found myself, like, I suddenly realised this morning I'm not the mayor of this place. That was weird.
Yeah.
'Cause,
not yet.
I mean, I was noticing it in the intro, because when you move in, it's you and two other little animal villagers and the Nook family. So Tom Nook and his nephews Timmy and Tommy. And then in my town, or in my island rather, I've got Frita, who is the hamburger meal themed sheep, which is conceptually very confusing, but I love her very much. So her wool is kind of like it's fringed, but the fringing looks like fries, and her back looks like a little sesame seeded bun in a really weird way. But then her tummy looks like a hot dog with condiments on it. So who even knows?
Yep, it's a brand. It's a brand.
And then there's Hamlet, who's a little jockey hamster. So, but he's a character that I've known for a long time. Frita's actually somebody that I've heard of in other Animal Crossing iterations, but I've never managed to bump into her or get her to come to my town. So this is very exciting.
It is very good. I have Lyman, who is a lime-coloured deadbeat koala who likes to weightlift.
Nice.
And I have Mira, who is either a superhero or a luchador. I can't tell which one. I think a superhero. Rabbit.
Yeah, she's the yellow and red one.
Yeah, who's into rock and roll. So it's a good set.
She's in Pocket Camp. I think she's at my camp at the moment. So yeah.
Actually, she lives on my island.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's. I think the other thing that's really struck me about it, because obviously, like, I think there's a lot of reasons why people would flock to a game that's about gentle progression, running around outside, and sort of like low peril, sort of social time at the moment. What is that? Oh, you're making something.
I am crafting. I made a potted ivy.
Excellent.
And I am making a spare one for you. So I'm
thanks.
just going to keep crafting and do
Can
that.
you open up, can you go, when you have a second, can you talk to a dodo?
Yes,
about
please.
me visiting?
I mean, yes, sorry. Thank you. Which is the...
Just
what
yes
word?
is fine.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why people would flock to it. But I don't think it's just the present circumstances. Like, I think one thing that's genuinely really impressed me about playing this, and I suspect that they've gotten better at this and better at this over time, because it's always been good. But like, the localization is great. Like, it is for a game that is, extremely kid friendly, and I'm kind of jealous that I was, I didn't get into Well, I don't think there was Animal Crossing when I was a kid. It's also really wittily written in a way that is just very, very rewarding. It feels like...
Did you know that one of the writers of Dota 2 is...
Yes.
I think I told you that last week.
You did, yeah.
Or, the other day.
Well, and that is the common ground, actually, is Dota 2 had a weirdly packed writer's room that just resulted in a lot of people writing puns about wizards. And this game is weirdly have some of the same people in a packed writer's room that is just lots of puns about fish and bugs.
Orville is gonna let you in, by the way.
Okay.
I love the dodos. I do.
The dodos are my favourite as well.
It's weird though, because the dodos operate Dodo Airlines, which is how they fly, which is amazing. I believe they are Wilbur and Orville, because obviously, great. And so what they're doing is there's one behind a little desk in the airport. Pippington Airport is mine. And he's so cute. He's so flustered every time I ask him to do anything, but he does his best, and it's the greatest thing.
I like their little salutes. They're very good.
Yeah, because then, when the one who's gonna fly the plane comes along, and then they salute each other, and it's so good. But also, the interesting thing for me as a long-time player of the franchise is that Orville also is the one who operates the postal system now. The post actually is accessed as a postcard stand in the airport, and so you can send postcards out to people. But that means that, so for me, it's really odd not having the pelicans, the postal pelicans around, because there's Pete, who delivers the post usually, and Pelly and Phyllis, who are the sort of the happy day worker and the grumpy night postal worker. And I really miss Phyllis especially. Oh, someone's on their way.
It might be me, and you get to see how incredibly loose I have become.
Oh dear.
Since my retirement.
Have you gone full,
I've gone
70s adult magazine editor?
No, I that's far lewder than I would like. No, I like to think that I've gone middle-aged woman who murdered her husband in a 20s murder mystery.
Oh, good. Yes. Nice.
Yeah, I've gotten away. Like, I paid for this island with murder money. I'm not going to lie.
Got a sort of a silk robe and a...
Yeah. Well, you'll see when I arrive in your airport very, very momentarily.
Oh. So I've got your flight information. It says passenger, down and out producer Chris.
The title system, which allows you to make little titles out of modular parts, is very good.
Yes. What am I at the moment? Oh my goodness.
I've just stepped into Pip's airport.
Oh wow. Yeah. So Chris is basically wearing... so there is a head wrap, a jewelled head wrap. You've also got... Wraparound Shades, and you've got possibly the most 70s bathrobe I have ever seen.
Well, thank you, because there's two details here. One is the Wraparound Shades I am wearing because I was stung by some wasps earlier.
Oh, nice.
So they hide my bad eye.
Do you want me to see if I can get you some medicine?
No, that's fine. I quite enjoy this because it looks like the other thing I would accept is like... sort of is like 40s. I've got an Ocarina too, by the way. Is like 40s or 50s. Oh, well, we can when I finish my story. 40s or 50s film star who is quote unquote scare quotes incognito.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Offset in France and therefore wearing a turban and wraparound shades, but has a huge hangover, which is why I'm wearing the shades. The bathrobe.
I'm now hitting you with a net.
Yeah, because I won't shut up. The bathrobe. I designed in the creative editor, which is great. It's just a little pixel art tool which allows you to make patterns for wallpaper and clothes and things.
You've got the pockets on as well.
Yeah, I drew the pockets on.
Aww.
So hang on, let's get a photo. Let's get a photo.
Okay. Well, I also drew.
Oh yeah, yours is great. What are you wearing, Pip?
Thing. Well, I thought you could describe me, given that.
So you have a little blue flower in your hair. You are wearing a jumper with a happy-looking goose on it, with some jeans and yellow wellies. It's very good. You would wear this in real life,
Chris,
and I wish I would wear this in real life.
Stay still. I just got like two photos of, one is you facing in completely the wrong direction, and one is you running out of frame. So at least it's very accurate to life.
Oh, now you've run out of frame. My photo.
Well, there we go.
Hang on, I need to set it to frame and date so it looks like a photo from the 90s. I need to set it to film, and then I can take the picture. Marvellous. Excellent. Like, I worry that there might be something mildly culturally appropriative about my dress. It's one of the reasons I added the pockets to make it clear it was a dressing gown, not a caftan. But I just kind of realised that I love wearing caftans, so I just changed it to, I called it a caftan anyway. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I've got this head wrap from a balloon. I do. We should explain Pip's. So I think you tweeted a picture of this, but as you enter Pip's village, Pippington, you hit a wall of squid.
Oh yeah.
In aquarium tanks with a sign that reads "Seth Hello Pods," which is very good. Well done.
It's got expert handwriting.
Yeah,
not at all scribbled.
Because the yellow is quite faint. It does look to me like it says "Seth Hell Pods."
Oh no! Oh dear. Maybe I should fix that.
Which is a doom thing.
The pennants on the lampposts as you come in are from the pocket camp kind of time.
Oh, cool.
So those are cool. Do you want to see what's happened to my island since you last came?
Yes, I do. So this is... So yeah, I've just connected over the internet to Pip's Island and we're just running around. So I see you're waiting for a museum to be built as well.
I've put it on the seafront, because why not?
So did I. We've got some coconut trees growing. So do I now.
Yep.
You put them in a similar place where I put mine.
I mean, you can only grow them on the beach. So.
Well, I know, but it's the beach to the left of the airport, so that is similar.
Okay.
That's where I got my cool beachfront hangout zone, incidentally.
There's a bin. I put a bin next to the museum.
Yeah.
And then if you follow me over to the right of the airport, you will see that there is also stuff on the beach. What do you think to that?
Excellent. Well, yeah, beach barbecue is a strong choice. We've got some flowers here.
I realised I could plant flowers on the beach as well, so I've tried to make it look like, like those kind of sand dunes where you've got little shrubby weeds poking through and stuff, which is really cool.
Nice. I'm just watering them for you. So yeah, You've got a Stonehenge?
Oh yeah, that fell out of a balloon.
You got a Stonehenge in a balloon?
I did, and then I put my Animal Crossing Pocket Camp crossover.
I think I saw a National Geographic documentary about that.
Oh, Frito! Look, Frito's here. See?
Yep, that is a fast food themed sheep, all right.
Oh, it is. But anyway,
weird about that.
So next to the Stonehenge is the fortune cookie stand, because I thought tourism, you know.
Yeah, right.
But look, you can
I grew up
push it.
very close to Stonehenge, so this is very accurate.
Oh, there's company over, so I can't move it. But if you push it, then the wheels turn. It's as if you're actually pushing a little cart. It's
very good.
Very cute. I've put my Nook shop on the beachfront as well.
Still saving up enough metal for mine.
Oh, really? And then there's a little campfire that I wasn't sure what to do with. So
do you have baths in a tub by the sea?
Oh, that's my laundry area.
Oh, I see.
I put it on the rocks because then I thought I could bash my clothes clean on the rocks, like I remember in stories from when I was a child.
Like in the film The Lighthouse.
Oh, okay, well.
No, that doesn't happen.
No. And then there's a little lookout point where there are stone stools that we can sit on and look out to sea and enjoy the evening. And also where you can kind of just, I guess, keep watch for Gulliver, trash bird, as he stamps around waiting for his crew to come pick him up.
Has his crew come pick him up now?
Yeah, he was here yesterday. I think he was here yesterday for pretty much everyone who wasn't fiddling with their clock.
The time travellers. What do you feel about time travel? So for clarity, Animal Crossing uses a real system clock, and things progress day by day, and you can't, things take time. So we're both waiting for the museum at the moment. That'll be ready tomorrow. Which is kind of proto MMO daily quests, really, given Animal Crossing has always been like this. But obviously some people use the manual changes to the system clock to skip forwards in time to play the game at their own pace. How do you feel about this, Pip?
I don't feel too... Oh, you're enjoying the hay bale bed?
Yeah.
Nice. I don't feel too strongly one way or the other. I think the only point where it seems to impact me at all is if I go and visit a friend and they've clearly, messed around a bit, and that's not me judging them, it's more just that I don't want to see too far ahead. Or,
yeah, right.
I want to find things out at my own pace, and so if somebody is... it reminds me a little bit of when I played World of Warcraft for the first time, and somebody, a really, really lovely friend who just, who wanted to show me what later stuff was like. I got into their motorbike sidecar and they drove me around, but it meant that I kind of saw everything. And then I didn't really know what to do once I was back at beginning island, or,
right.
with Hogger going hi.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, like, right now it feels a bit strange, because I also don't really want things spoiled for me. Spoilers is maybe not the right term, but, like, I'd like to discover things myself as well. And so I'm not in a rush to, like, jump ahead. And at the moment, I'm kind of take some comfort in the fact that there's a lot of people playing, there's a lot of people sharing friend codes around, jumping and visiting each other's islands. But most people are in these early days of the game. So, I'm kind of confident that if I go to your island or another friend's, I'm not going to see something that's wildly ahead of where I'm at.
I think it's that thing of we're trying to, a lot of us I think are trying to tread that fine line between, you want to see what your friend's got that you haven't got, in the sense of, you knocked a head wrap down from a balloon and I knocked a Stonehenge down, but those both come from having access to the same tools and just different luck.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I've actually got bamboo shoots that I picked up, but that was because I used an Air Miles ticket, which is one of the little in-game reward currencies. None of these are microtransactions; they're just little in-game reward schemes. And for the Nook Island ticket things, it takes you to a randomly generated mini foreign island, like a deserted island.
Yeah,
rather.
like a generated little island spaced around.
And the one that I happened to visit had bamboo seeds, bamboo shoots and things on it.
That's me playing my ocarina in the background of Pip's game.
But that's stuff that you could have got, but you will maybe come to my island and say, "Ooh, what's that? Could
I really like.
Have one?"
And it's interesting because that I think is where the really rewarding stuff lies. Like I think ultimately the spoiler feeling stuff won't be sustainable to avoid it, because eventually the player population will be massively distributed. People who buy the game in a year will be a year behind the people who are playing it now. So it doesn't really, at that point, the sort of time travel stuff doesn't count. So it is weird. I because I didn't realise that there was even an argument about whether or not time travelling was good or bad or right or wrong.
It's been going on for as long as the franchise has
existed,
right.
And I knew enough that I didn't know that, and I saw it this morning and became aware of it this morning on Twitter. And the funny thing is, I shouldn't care, but initially I was like, no, time travel's complete bullshit. These people are breaking the natural law. And I think it's because at the moment I'm getting specific value from the kind of sense of, collective progress and, people having something to show or offer each other. And, I just found a football fish in the middle of the day.
Oh, wow. Nice.
This is like an anglerfish type dude. So that's cool.
You basically caught a ball with a light on.
Yeah, I did, yeah. But, you got a gnome.
Do you want to come see my, and the gnome is pretending to play with building blocks.
Excellent. Where are you?
I'm at the top of the island. If you vault over the river, you can come to my wildflower meadow. I've decided that as much as possible, I'm going to keep the bits beyond the initial spawn area. So basically you are... Everyone, I think, was penned into a particular bit of the island so that they couldn't access the further reaches without being able to craft a little pole vault thing.
Yeah.
And so, but now that I can get over here, I was delighted because I did the usual Animal Crossing thing of weeding my village. But I love how the weeds look in this game.
They're really nice.
I brought loads of them back from the other side of the island, and I've decided to just let them grow free. And so, my new flower seeds just in amongst them and just keep it kind of wild.
I have completely weeded my island because I do love tidying.
I love the wind effect as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a beautiful looking game, really is.
My island spawned with oranges, so...
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. So if people aren't familiar, I think I really like this part of the design. For people who aren't familiar, your seed for your island... So your island shape is generated with, obviously, some conditions, like Pip just mentioned, that you'll be probably stuck to a particular part of it until you progress down the crafting tree a little bit.
Here's your gift, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Excellent, put that in my dressing gown.
Potted ivy.
Got ivy in my dressing gown, that's a bad idea. I need that medicine. So everyone has their island, but then also the sort of exact configuration of stuff you've got is sort of gently randomised. So I think there are 6 different fruit.
It kind of depends.
5 plus coconuts.
Yeah, there's pears, cherries, peaches, oranges, apples, and then there's the coconuts, and there's the bamboo. I don't know if there's more. I don't think so.
I got the big prize for getting all of them earlier, and so...
But in Pocket Camp, actually, there's lychees and lemons and grapes, which are sort of their...
elite fruit.
Yeah, the ones that you trade for.
But yeah, and the idea there is, my island has apple trees, which means that in order to get orange trees, I need to go to visit someone else's island or have a visitor come to me and who has that fruit and get fruit from their tree and then dig a hole and plant it in my island so I can grow those trees. And so there's some sort of, I think these little points of difference are really nice because, it's ultimately a game about collecting gardening. So there are sort of 2 facets there. One is how much stuff do you have and what stuff do you have? And the other is what have you chosen to do with it. And I think one of the reasons that you're not only a person who plays a lot of these games, but also gets a lot out of them, is I think that kind of creativity comes quite naturally to you. Like coming up with creative uses for the props and things that you can find. Like the cephalopod wall that we are now walking past. It'd be good if there was a video, because that would have been perfectly timed. Whereas, and that I think takes the edge off. I think this is actually also true of your relationship with Pocket Camp as well. Pocket Camp obviously is more of a gacha game. as in, collecting a sort of endless parade of stuff and being encouraged to spend a lot of time and invest real money in finishing collections of stuff. And I think there are some, I know you have a love-hate relationship with that aspect of it. But I think the reason you make it work is because you come up with really creative uses of the things that you are doing. So, these games are creative sandboxes, but I really like that, creativity is something that
I'm just going to craft a fishing rod, by the way.
Cool.
I am listening.
Creativity in games is something that not everyone enjoys, not everyone finds easy. People are differently creative. And Animal Crossing has different levels of that, from your ability to arrange furniture in a nice way to your ability to actually do pixel art, right? Like, the pixel art stuff is literally just doing pixel art, which is an artistic skill that not everyone's going to have.
You can, I'm not quite sure of the process. I know that I think Nintendo has said you'll be able to use QR codes from New Leaf and things, which is the process that let you share stuff from that game in this one. So that will be cool. But I haven't encountered whatever the system is. I'm assuming that when the shop, previously it was when you'd fulfilled a bunch of slightly more advanced conditions in the clothing shop that you get access to, then that stuff became available.
Right.
At the moment, I'm just experimenting with the current things. It comes with a few little designs that you can choose to either wear on clothes, put on the floor as tiles, which is how you get little welcome mats and paths and things. You can also display them as, art on easels and things, and wear them as clothing or face paint at this point. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the thing I was going to say was that I think what I find interesting is, it's sort of, I've just found another football fish.
Oh, whereabouts are you?
Same spot. Happened again.
Where are you?
I'm on the east side of your island,
hello.
past your house. There you go. It's just right here. Right where I'm casting my line.
Well, alright then. I might try using some of my bait.
Can I give you one of these fish?
I don't think so.
No,
I think they're yours.
Yeah, they're mine now. But the reason I mention that is because I think there's a really nice... I think the subtle randomization, even just things like... What colour is your phone? Your Nook phone?
My Nook phone is...
Green. Okay, so mine's green too. But the colour of your airport and your seaplane that takes you to other islands, all of that stuff is randomised as well. And I know a friend of Pod, Leisha Hannigan, spent a lot of time sort of... rerunning that bit of generation to find the perfect set. At the same time, it kind of rewards you for just sort of discovering what it is your island's going to happen to be like.
Yeah.
And I think that level of randomization is nice because it adds an identity. It basically gives you an identity for your space in the game that supports whatever you choose to make on top of it, which is a really nice as a way of giving people a way in. Because if the alternative, which is true of other games like this sometimes, is that you end up with a default that is more or less the same for everybody, and a creative level on top of it.
I've got another squid.
Excellent. Add it to the wall. Sorry, I'll stop rambling, but there's I think there's something nice about having that immediate sense of identity for your own space, and then being able to kind of flesh it out as much or as little as you like with your own kind of embellishments.
I think it depends on the kind of player you are as well, because the other thing that I will say in defence of... it's not in defence of because you weren't attacking, but there was part of the argument about time travel in previous games was... obviously there were people who just sort of would do it as if they were trying to 100% the game. And that's a slightly different thing than people who kind of knew that they wouldn't be home for Christmas Day and so would time travel so they could go back and experience it with their villagers and things. At other times. And so for me, my way of playing is to absolutely just go with whatever the island it gives me, or, you know, to pick from the selection it gives me and not re-roll. Especially when it comes to my villagers, I figured I would just make friends with whoever was there and things. But I think that there are people who whose playstyle is very much like they have a vision of who they want to have in their island, and especially things like you can get animals to move out, but it can feel really heartbreaking to do it because you're kind of ignoring them, and you kind of hit them with a net a lot, and you know, when they say, oh, I've been thinking about moving out, do you think I should? And the option to say yes, go away kind of thing. Like, even though the game doesn't phrase it like that, it can be really heartbreaking, and so I completely understand why somebody might just completely want to re-roll, or to get their preferred fruit, or to get their preferred people, or to get a layout that feels like home, you know? I get that.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any wrong way to experience it. I find it sort of, I love anything that helps people identify themselves in games and like find roles for themselves, but I don't think it's necessarily as easy as give people a creative tool and tell them to just make it. I think you need prompts, and I kind of like the way the randomization does that. Yeah, indeed, Hamlet. The other thing I was going to mention, actually, because we didn't mention it at all, is Nook Miles. So previously, Animal Crossing games, as far as I understand it, are basically, apart from the stuff you've collected, you're also collecting bells, which is currency. And this has another currency called Nook Miles, which you get by completing functionally achievements, like, you know, plant 5 trees, that kind of thing. And a big set of them are sort of fixed, and that is the game's kind of big list of stuff to do, and you don't see them until you've started on a particular track.
Hamlet wants to show you the sights of Pippington, including his biceps, by the way. He's like,
what sights they are.
Exactly.
And then there's also, what was I going to say? There's also, like, essentially, like, 5 little tasks across the top that give smaller rewards that, you know, generate a new one whenever they're completed. So, like, catch this particular kind of fish, you do that, you get another challenge. And you can just do that as long as you want to get this other currency for items and access to some special features and things. And I really like this, and I thought it was interesting as a design thing, because there is a huge danger with Animal Crossing, I think, and any game that is about acquiring stuff over time, of encouraging over investment. Or players spending time beyond what they want to or what they find fun.
Yeah. And
a danger there is having bottomless time. I just found a citrus longhorn beetle, incidentally.
They live on the thingies,
stumps.
Don't they?
Yeah, got one. And you know, if you consistently tell people they can have more, if they do more, they will do more, and some people will do more forever. And that also ties in itself with people's desire to 100% things or complete things. And one thing I really like about Animal Crossing is it does kind of end day by day, right? If you don't time travel and you know, if you do time travel, that's the other danger you put yourself in, is you can just keep going. Because the you know, resource nodes will refresh, it will keep going.
Yeah.
Whereas I really have appreciated the fact that I get to a point in after about an hour of play usually, where the principal things of the day are done, really.
Yeah.
And anything else I do is just for fun, or to hang out with other people, or whatever. And I think they've done a good job of incorporating this sort of achievement system into that, because it's quite dangerous. Like, if you give people rotating tasks to complete or targets to grind for, some people will try and grind them all out at once. And I think the game does a good job on a few different axes of teaching you not to play that way, or like, not teaching you not to play that way, but like making sure that if you are playing that way, it's clear that it's optional, that it's not what's expected of you, because your island runs out of resources at a certain point in the day.
Well, your island will run out of resources in terms of if you hit the trees any more times with your axe, they will fall down instead of giving you wood, or if you hit the rocks too many times, they will either stop giving you resources or you'll kill them.
Yeah.
Or, you know, things like that. But also, in terms of the time of day, it very much rewards you popping back every now and again, like sort of snacking on the game. Because,
yeah, that's true.
Things like the fish are, they will often, apart from the really common ones, they'll be linked to a time of day or a particular season, things like that. So you'll get bored, basically, of catching the same kind of butterfly or whatever.
Yeah, so you'll log off for a bit.
Yeah, so you're kind of... Well, it's more that the game will just sort of gradually become not as entertaining to play in terms of it's not delivering those, like, novel little prickles of excitement, and so you'll just naturally almost like emerge from the play bubble and go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm done now. I'll check back in later. But yeah. So
I find that like personally really makes me feel calmer with the game. Like, and I think even though it has these like little auto refreshing rewards, the rewards for them are small enough that they can kind of point you in a direction, but I don't feel the need to try and complete them or do a new one. I think because a new one populates as soon as you finish one, you're not going and picking them up or something. It feels like they're there to kind of periodically reward you for stuff you'd probably be doing anyway, rather than enforcing kind of this, a bigger daily list of things you must do, or you wouldn't be progressing at 100% efficiency, or the kinds of things people do worry about.
Well, some things, I'll just open up the Nook phone, because that's the in-game interface menu thing. So on my little Nook phone apps, there's the camera, which is very cute. I'm looking forward to unlocking emotes so that I can, be doing different poses and things when people come to stay and come to visit rather, and hopefully I'll be able to use them when I'm in camera mode as well. I'm not sure. Then there's the Nook Miles system, which you've mentioned. Have you unlocked the Nook Miles Plus?
I have, yeah. That's what I was just talking about.
Oh, sorry, yes. I'm not very good at listening and playing at the same time. I'm sorry. But yeah, so at the top is that thing that is an example of the thing I was saying about the time of day, because one of the Nook Plus Smile things that it has come up with for me is catch a dace, and that's not at this time of day when I look at my little Critterpedia. And so I'll know I'll mentally note, I'll come back this evening and try for that, but I can't earn those miles now.
Right.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
How many miles do you have at the moment?
How many miles do I have? I just spent a whole bunch, so I have 6,000.
Okay, I've got 4,800 something. But I've been spending $2,000 a pop to go and visit
that's
other
what I've been doing.
Islands, just because I wanted to, or the randomly generated ones, just because I wanted to get a sense of how much variety there was within that. And I think they're all basically dedicated to one kind of thing, aren't they? Like, they'll have one species of fruit tree only. They'll offer you the ability to harvest some extra ore and things, and then they'll have like a main feature, whether that's the bamboo island I found, or there'll be maybe rainy, and so you'll catch a lot of snails, or things like that.
Just went to a rainy one.
They're quite themed, I find, which is nice. What else is there? There's the DIY recipes, which is the crafting system. Have we talked about that? Did you talk about it while I wasn't listening?
No, not really. Is that new?
So yeah, basically, the crafting system previously, we didn't have one, I don't think. No.
Huh.
Well, there were ways of obtaining special, like, coloured versions of furniture that was slightly more advanced, and so that was like a certain amount of customization, but the furniture was basically you got it wholesale, as in not wholesale prices or anything. There wasn't a that kind of supply chain, but it was very much you would buy it from the store, you would receive it from animals, you'd knock it out of trees, you'd all of that kind of stuff, whereas this is very much more this whole you need the component pieces to start.
Right, yeah, actually, it hadn't occurred to me that is actually a fairly major change.
Yeah, it's massive. I think the only bigger change I could imagine, and which hasn't happened in this, is being able to place furniture on the diagonal. That would have been
I suppose the other big one is being able to place furniture outside, right?
Yeah, that's the massive change. But, it's kind of interesting, because previously you could have things like a Stonehenge or whatever, but it was billed as a public works project. So you would essentially pick where it would go, and then you would have to pay the bell cost of it for a bunch of time, or, you know, if you were hoarding money like me, immediately.
Right.
So yeah, but so here you've got your tools, you've got your bug net, you've got your axe and things. You can craft the flimsy version that runs out after a while, after a number of uses. It just sort of explodes in your hand. Or you've got the more robust version that usually involves, you know, an iron nugget, and the flimsier version that you craft. And then I'm assuming that later there's the option for like an indestructible thing.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
But that won't be yet a while. I have an ocarina, which I built using 5 bits of clay that came from a rock.
So do I.
Which is cool.
Can you illustrate?
See, yeah, yours is a lot quieter than mine.
I was hoping it would come through your speakers, but it doesn't because you're on your phone in the game.
Well, I mean, there's tree branches which you can use to make campfires. You can then build the campfire with some extra wood into a bonfire. So that's really cool. What else do I have? I unlocked the ability to make this wooden block toy thing, which is essentially just like, little shaped blocks that kids would play with off of olden days, and also me currently. But I can build that into a bunch of stuff, like kind of quite crude in terms of, you know, not hugely elaborate, but styled kind of kiddie furniture. So I can build not kiddie in the sense of the actual Animal Crossing theme.
But for children.
Yeah, like, so I could build like a blocky wooden chair using the wooden block toy and some extra wood, some soft wood. I built the wooden block bookshelf. I could build a little stereo, which is very cute. You know, all of that kind of stuff. And then from some island, some bottles that washed up on my beach, I've got things that are maybe a bit more advanced. Like if I collect 3 white hyacinths, 3 red cosmos, 3 yellow roses, a bunch of wood and some iron nuggets, I can build a garden wagon, which is essentially like a decorative wheelbarrow filled with flowering plants that I'd be able to put outside and decorate using. But yeah, that you can only do that if you have the recipes, though. It's not a case of... So I think even though I've given you this potted ivy, you won't be able to make it for yourself until you access the recipe however you...
Yeah, I think that's nice because it kind of preserves the sort of luck collecting aspect in a game with a crafting system. Like, it's sort of... Rather than it being, you know, once you have the materials, you can make anything you can combine them into or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also going to say, and this is maybe a small thing, but I really like a lot of care has been spent on this. Like, it's really, really clear how user-friendly it's intended to be, and also how kid-friendly it's intended to be. Like, one thing that's really fun about it is it doesn't mention Nintendo anywhere. This is a game by Nook Inc. Or an experience by Nook Inc. You know, it boots into basically a cold open, if you go to the settings from the main menu, it is effectively a sort of dream sequence where Tom Nook tells you to get your mum and dad because you could break the game here. Because it's everything to do with, like, you know, moving saves around and stuff like that. And so that's all lovely. And one area I think where the care is really evident is it's really careful not to overwhelm you with notifications. And I think this is a really interesting point because it uses smartphone, you know, design language for its little mobile app system, which makes a lot of sense because it's super familiar and it makes, you know, instant visual sense. But
do you come into my house?
I do. But it is also super careful not to overload you with like too many notifications at once or too many different things that could be sitting waiting for your attention. And I say this partly because I have been playing quite a lot of Call of Duty recently, and weirdly, Call of Duty is terrible for this. And like, people feeling anxious because they have unread notifications on app things is a real legit thing. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes loads of people uncomfortable with, just feeling at home in an area. And Call of Duty is nightmarish for it. Because, if one of your guns has a sticker unlocked somewhere deep in its customization tree, the whole weapons menu is going to have a big green, you haven't seen everything in here yet thing on it. And so it's an active, I don't know, it makes me despair, basically.
I think the only thing that it does here is your little phone icon in the top left will be blue, but it'll only bing once to let you know that there is something extra. But, and I've never felt the pressure to...
I think it's I think it's a combination of factors, including the fact that its menus aren't very deep. So there's you don't have that thing of oh god, it's in here somewhere and I've forgotten how to use it. It's really nicely done. This is a lovely house, by the way.
Do you want to talk people through what you can see?
There's wooden block toys on the floor. There's some sort of bug bowl, fish bowl.
It's a porcelain bowl containing a goldfish.
Excellent.
I think you'll find.
Excellent. There's a little flower in a cardboard box. There's I like this ovoid table. I would have one of these for my own place.
It's a wooden low table. I can build you one if you'd like.
No, I'm good, but thank you. That's a kind thought. There's this little kitchen table kind of thing though, like this. Very good. There's a little bookcase like that as well. And you've done a tasteful job of using this little cuttlefish or squid house as a shelf. As a shelf. That's good. That you find also use shitloads of these things. What a place.
It's an infestation, basically.
And you've got no bed.
Oh, no. This isn't a house for sleeping. This is a house for my my orchid mantis to live in. That's what's on top of the bookcase, by the way.
Oh, wow, yeah, it is.
And then on top of the squid tank is a little terrarium that a friend, also called Chris, gifted me via the postal system.
Excellent.
Which is so cute.
That is cute.
The only thing that I'm kind of annoyed about in the postal system is that I can't post anything to people unless I've visited their islands. So I actually have a lot of friends whose islands I haven't managed to sync up to visit, because if you open up your island to visitors, it stops you from doing certain things. So you can't just leave it open and let people turn up, because it means you can't sell things. It means you can't rearrange furniture. It means you can't, do certain things. And so that becomes kind of annoying after a while. So you can only really leave your island open for a little bit. And I think for preference, I would have liked the option to be able to make it that people could come anytime. And it just be, nice, because I'm only adding people that I like and trust.
Right, yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff put in place to try and make that experience as safe as it can be. But I agree. It's tilted towards the danger that a social interaction might be negative, rather than the possibility that it's probably going to be good. I think the only thing that has thrown me so far with it, I think the only negative experience I've had with it is... one thing it doesn't do, which I would just say if anyone starts playing it and they're in my position, not really being a pro Animal Crossing player.
Yeah, you've had the benefit of being able to just wander downstairs and say, Pip, why is this happening?
Right. But one thing I didn't realise, is that the rocks you have on your island are effectively resource nodes there to be kind of tapped every day. And there's a little, early on a character told me that if I ate fruit I would get super strong, and if I was super strong I could even break rocks. And so I just assumed that's what you did. I just assumed that breaking the rocks was, like in Minecraft or another crafting game, how you got all the resources out of them. Mining, basically. And this isn't the case. This actually destroys the rock and prevents you from having access to that resource node until it comes back. And rocks come back at a rate... I think you have about 6 on your island, and they come back at a rate of 1 a day, I now know. So it'll take me... I destroyed all but 2 of mine, so it's going to take me a better part of a week to get back up to, what I should have, basically. And that... and this is not a complaint, but it's sort of interesting. Now I understand the game's logic that you can remove stuff if you want, but the only reason you would do that is because you wanted to put something there, or it was cosmetically, not right for your island. That makes sense to me when it comes to chopping down trees and things particularly, but I think the rock thing isn't particularly well communicated, because breaking rocks for resources is so common in other games like this.
I think, it's an interesting one, because partly I knew about that stuff. I think I didn't... Or I do know how much of Animal Crossing's mechanics are sort of almost muscle memory at this point, because I found myself, for example, digging a set of holes which you need to dig to make sure that you can get the most resources out of a rock. It's a complicated thing to explain verbally, but visually it's really easy.
It's kind
Google
of,
it if you're interested. But
yeah, I would call it, it's effectively using holes to form a barrier that lets you kind of like animation cancel the knockback from hitting a rock with a spade, which makes it sound like you're playing Street Fighter, which is as good a testament to any that it is possible to be a hardcore Animal Crossing player. Like, when you showed me that, I was like, oh, I'm a huge nab. And you showed me how to be less of a massive nab.
But it's also things like, I was showing you things like, so here's another thing. I hope people won't think it's a spoiler. It might just be a nice thing. But because it works better with two people, is if you want to collect mole crickets and things, what you do is you walk around the island until you can hear chirping quite loudly, and then you go to where it's the loudest, and then you dig, and then that will hopefully unearth a mole cricket, and then if you're playing solo, you immediately then switch to your net and try and catch it. But it was really nice to be able to to show you and to dig it up, and then for you to be ready with your net so that you could get something cool out of it. That was really nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It sort of gently rewards co-op, because there isn't actually any co-op specific activities and things that are slightly easier, and it is just about sharing stuff, which is nice.
Yeah,
it's nice, basically.
I'm just gonna make a little hopscotchy kind of area if you wanna.
Whereabouts are you?
If you want to come and jump. I am by the tent on the east side of the island.
On
where
the way.
The tyre seat is.
Oh, I see. Good idea.
So, yeah.
And see if we can run this hopscotch course.
Oh, no, maybe not.
No, maybe not.
Maybe if I do it as diagonals, that would be... Let's see... we're trying to use to exploit the jumping idea by putting holes as a kind of diagonal. Yeah. And just using it as like a little playground. And that's the thing, it kind of rewards this, I don't know, this little creativity, and you just figure it out. Like when I still don't have emotes and things, and that meant that when somebody came to the island, all I could do was run in circles when I was excited, or
which is a lot like real life, actually.
When I wanted to show them something, like if I wanted them to look at a gift I dropped on the ground, I would open up the little voice typing box, I would type gift, and then I would run excitedly round the gift until they came over and looked at it and picked it up. So, that's been really nice.
Yeah. Well, we've been running around and jumping over little holes and talking about Animal Crossing for almost an hour now.
Oh, wow.
So do you have any sort of, closing thoughts on New Horizons, other than it's just really nice?
I think, I think it's the best in the series so far, and I love it. It's beautiful. It's properly beautiful. I think that the experience of going to other people's islands, I get why Nintendo are as cautious as they are, but I think that's kind of the weak link for me at the moment, is the fact that, if somebody wants to come visit, you have to sit through a loading process while things, I assume, sync up and while things save properly, and it makes sure that your island's maybe a bit more protected, or there's clearly processes happening, but it feels like a longer wait than is entirely comfy. And then if anyone else joins the island, if you're having a bigger party, you've got to sit through that every time someone arrives and every time someone leaves. So something like that, I'm hoping is either will ease over time if they figure out, ways of streamlining it, or maybe it just won't be a pain, because you'll just get used to it. But other than that, it's kind of, I tell you something, the timing is it's spectacular. I have had moments where I was just in my island with friends, and it's such a privileged thing to have access to. It really is, but I'm beyond grateful for being able to do it, because it's so lonely right now. Sorry, that was supposed to be a happier thing. But yeah, it's like, I'm so grateful to have access to it and to be part of a community of people who play the same way, or like are interested in it too, because, you know, being able to visit them and have people send random terrariums and pears and, you know, that kind of stuff is lovely, really lovely.
Yeah. I don't think there's more to say than that.
Maybe we'll check in again in a week or in a month.
And I know that both of the Toms are playing, so we'll see if we can find out how they've been getting on as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for sharing Animal Crossing with me, Pip.
It's a pleasure. I'm sorry I cried. I need a Seth goodbye pods or something for an exit, I think.
But it might be time to say goodbye pod.
Oh yes, a goodbye pod.
There's an extra joke here we didn't get, but we just got it, so that's good.
Okay, great.
Great. Good work, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody.